How does she?
Anyways, hi.
Hi, welcome to the show, Nataly.
I am so happy to be here again. This is so
I
fun. This is our
know
second time together. I love it.
you are the rare guest, only the second guest that we've had on more than once.
I'll
And
do
you
my
know what?
best to make it worth it.
We had such good feedback about the first time you were on, how much people learned from that
I love
episode.
that.
And I quote you all the time. So there are probably other episodes where I'm mentioning you because I just thought that what you shared was so useful. So I cannot wait for us to jump into the new book, The Awesome Human Project.
Yay! Can we just hug it on air?
Hug
Today
it.
is, by the way, so it's been out for 6 days or 7 days as of today. And I still do, I'm like a kid with a stuffed animal, a new one. So I still just hug it a lot. But yeah, here it is.
It's your baby. It's like another
My
baby.
baby.
So tell us about the new book.
So the new book, which is funny, it's new to the world. I've been working on it for 3 years. I love that it's now, my baby is out. So the new book is called The Awesome Human Project, Break Free from Daily Burnout, Struggle Less and Thrive More in Work and Life. And this book is, the first thing I just want to say, like, to you as my friend and to everyone listening, like, this is my most honest, most courageous, like, this is my life's work. I just mentioned I've been working on it for 3 years. It's literally been 46 years. That's how old I am. I truly feel, I don't know, it's like the stone, the Bible, like the greatest thing, the most honest thing I can offer, which is really meaningful for me. But this book really came out of, I've written it during the pandemic, which I didn't plan on, obviously, when I started working on it. This book, I feel like, comes at a time where we all are ready to switch from either maintenance mode or just making it through the day or really struggling, as many people are, and to start actually living and thriving. And one of the things I say in the book is, you are not here to survive. That's what your brain wants to do. Your brain is here to help you survive and keep you safe. That's not why we are here. Life is more than that. And so this book is both my kind of call to arms, and because that's my jam, there's a path, and there's the core of the book is this 5-week challenge that I invite you to join me on, to embrace your awesome human, where you learn these 5 emotional fitness skills and practice, because that's how we build the skills. But to me, this is a book to help us truly live with a capital L. And I think it comes at a time where we all really need it. And the cool thing about this book is I've been teaching it and sharing it in all my talks as I've been working on it. I've given something like 300 virtual talks throughout the pandemic. That is not a made up number. My team keeps track, to companies and teams and doctors and nurses and teachers and high school students and, everyone in between. And I've been teaching and sharing as I've been writing, and I've seen this resonate. I've seen the desire that so many people have to make that shift, and also how they can do it, how it doesn't take dramatic life changes, which is at the core of this book. And so, yeah, I didn't plan the timing, but, and it's funny, like, I'm not someone who, I don't feel timing works for me often in life. I seem to like create my own time. But I really feel like this book is coming to us at a point in time where we all really, really need it.
Yeah. Well, no question. And Nataly, I was just reviewing this with my team. We did a survey recently, and 93% of women who took the survey, we had well over 1,000 people who took it, and they said 93% of them said that there are things that they want to improve in their life. But then when we asked them, okay, well, are you working to improve them? Over 50% of them said the reason that they're not is, so 80 some odd said that they haven't been able to get to it. And then they were like, okay, well, why not? We asked them why not. And they said they just don't know where to start. And so to me, that's a similar mindset of like who you're going to be able to help and who this book can help.
Yeah.
You mentioned the term emotional fitness before. Can you just talk a little bit about what is emotional fitness?
Yeah, I love that you're asking me that, because I want to tell everyone, this is also like fun to share things about the book. I always want to know the inside story of other people's books. it's emotional fitness skills are at the core of this book, but I didn't realize that was what they were until I was almost done with it. And then I had to go redo the whole thing. Because what I realized the skills were about, they were all to help us create a better relationship with ourselves, our thoughts, our emotions, and other people. And that is my definition of emotional fitness. So the way that I define emotional fitness is it's a skill. So I think it's really important to say, like any skill, right? Like you wouldn't expect yourself to go out and run a marathon if you haven't ran before. Like that's crazy. You'd want to be a skilled runner before you accomplish it. So you practice your running. Emotional fitness is the same as physical fitness. It's just your training, your relationship with your brain and thoughts, but it's a skill. You got to practice. The way you improve, you practice. That's it. When you don't practice, it's not as good. But it's a skill of creating a more supportive relationship with our thoughts, our emotions, ourselves, and then as a result with other people. And it's so important that we start with ourselves. And at the core of this, as you know, I'm a neuroscience geek. Everything I share is based in research. There's a ton of neuroscience tidbits in the book, including a whole chapter, which is understanding your brain on challenge. And the reason we need to practice our emotional fitness is because our brains really don't care about our happiness, our thriving, our accomplishments, our living a meaningful life. That's not what your brain cares about. Your brain is here to do one thing, to keep you safe from danger. So if we just follow the thoughts that our brain naturally has, that's all we're going to do. We're going to have a lot of struggle, but we're going to stay safe. We'll never try new things. We'll never make changes because that's all uncertainty to the brain. So understanding that gives us the insight for why we have to learn how to do things like edit our thoughts. At the core of the book is the skill that has really changed the lives of a lot of people as I've been sharing it. This idea that just because your brain gives you a thought doesn't mean you should follow it, that you are the editor of your thoughts. The idea that we have to practice dealing with different emotions and embracing different emotions. How do you work through difficult emotions? That's all at the core of emotional fitness. And to me, it's weird to say that without like self-aggrandizing, but this is the skill we don't learn. This is the skill we don't learn in school. This, I was just talking, Wall Street Journal just did a profile of me. And I love that I said this in the interview. It was a long interview. I didn't know it would make it in the article. But I said, these are not soft skills. These are life human needs. Yeah. These are essential human needs, and we need to learn how to do it, especially right now, after we've gone through this incredibly difficult 2 years. We're still in it, right? Still challenging. Uncertainty is so hard for the human brain. Change is so difficult for the human brain. So we have to learn how to support ourselves through that so that we can spend less energy on inner struggle. So we have more of that energy to do the things that are meaningful to us, whatever they are, our work, our craft, our family, our community. And that's how we embrace our awesome human. That's how we get there.
So you said emotional fitness and what you just described is a skill. And it reminded me of what you said the first time I had you on the show, when you said happiness is a skill. And it completely shifted the way that I thought about happiness, because I think a lot of us, probably not, unique in this, think of happiness as something that we're either born with or we're not. It's when I achieve my goal. It's not, that's when the happiness comes. And I love that the way that you're breaking this down for us is in thinking about these things as skills. Because you said before, like, we don't get taught how to be emotionally fit, and it's a skill that we need. We also don't get taught really how to be happy, and it's a skill that we need.
Absolutely.
So I see so much similarity and but in a very different light. This book seems like you're going in a sort of, it builds on what you had in Happier Now, but it's different.
I actually want to talk about that. So I think everything you say, happiness is part of, like, when you improve your emotional fitness, you feel happier because you struggle less. So it's absolutely a subset. But yes, when, I think we talked about last time, for me, this all kind of became illuminated when I went through a really difficult burnout. And, I've actually, it was more than a burnout. Like, the best word for it is like a breakdown of being. That's what happened to me. That's what I went through, where I began to realize that I'm not practicing these skills. And then thinking about these as skills, it was very liberating because instead of waiting for life to change so that I feel better, I could just do things within my life as it is. But I actually want to talk about, I write about this in the book of how this connects to Happier Now, because I think it's important. I wrote Happier Now 2 years after I went through a really, really difficult time. And I'm very proud of that book. It's changed a lot of people's lives. But I don't think I had enough perspective yet to see the whole picture, to see all the things even within myself. And there was this thing that kept happening. I kept getting emails or DMs on social from people who said, I want to tell you this. I bought Happier Now like a year ago, and I haven't had the courage to open it because I just couldn't even think about happiness. I'm struggling so much. And I realized that I needed to go to the struggle, that I needed to start at the struggle because that's where I began. That's where my journey began, is in a very, very dark place. I spent most of my life thinking struggle was the only way. I thought it was the right thing. I thought that if you're, an entrepreneur or doing things that are meaningful in life and a great mom and a great leader, you gotta struggle. So I was like, yeah, I'm doing it right. It was my religion, And I realized that I needed to go to that. And I have this very, very crude, visual that I use. There's we all have this emotional baseline, you're doing okay. Fine. Life's okay. You're kind of okay. And then to me, Happier Now is about how do you get happier? How do you improve? And with the Awesome Human Project, I want to start below the line because so many people are below that line. They are struggling, they are stuck, and I wanted to go there. Because that's where I started. And so the book begins almost in a place before Happier Now. And I'm very grateful to all the readers who emailed me to tell me that happiness was out of reach, because it gave me an opportunity to have my own courage to face my own struggle stories and to say, wait, hold on, I have to go back more. I have to go to the struggle.
I love that. You talked about, you just mentioned that for you, when you 2 years before you wrote Happier Now was when you got to a point where you were just burnt out. I know that, there are different ways to describe that. How does someone know that they're burnt out?
It's a great question. And the first thing I want to say is, burnout is a term that's definitely become very often used in our culture. Because people are feeling burnt out, but it's also just become like a catch-all. So the first thing I want to say is we all experience it differently. And it doesn't have to be this all-encompassing, overwhelming thing that it became for me. I think in retrospect, and I write about this in the book, I had been burning out daily for decades, but I had no awareness. So I just want to acknowledge that. But there are some really common signs of daily burnout or burnout. We all know that feeling of feeling really spent. And not just once, right? We've all had that really hard week and we're exhausted on Friday. That's normal. But if you're feeling that way consistently, where you just are on empty and you're just the words I hear, I'm just trying to make it from one day to the other, or I'm just gotta make 1 hour. So you're consistently on empty. Your energy reservoir is empty. One of the signs of burnout is, and there's a lot of research on this, but beginning to resent your work. And I actually see, so much burnout in people who love what they do. We think of burnout, I think, as having too much to do. And that is one of the many, many factors. And I actually don't even think the most common one. But being so passionate about your job, this was the case for me. I run my own company where you don't know how to stop, where you never stop, where you begin to over-identify with your work. And so you get to a place where that was absolutely true for me in retrospect. I resented this work that I loved. So being resentful towards work that you otherwise like or usually care about, or starting to disassociate yourself, I don't want anything to do with it, is a sign of burnout. For me, there was this constant feeling of dread. And we all have things in our life we dread.
Sure.
Paying the bills or dealing with accounting stuff. But it was a more generalized feeling of just dread of anything. Finding yourself withdrawing socially. And this isn't about like, you know, you don't have to be an extrovert. I'm actually like an introvert, actually really need to be on my own, which is something I didn't acknowledge until I burnt out. But I withdrew. I just stopped interacting as much as I could because I just couldn't. So finding yourself withdrawing from interactions that you normally enjoy or like to have is a sign of burnout. Those are some telltale signs, but at the core of it is awareness. And this, you and I have talked about this. I didn't have any. Like people ask me, were there warning signs? A bajillion, including everyone asking me if I'm okay, if they can help me. Like, but I didn't see them as warning signs because, first of all, I thought that's the way it's supposed to be. I'm struggling. Yay, I'm doing a good job. I'm founder of my own company and a working mom. Of course I'm struggling. Like, here's my badge of honor. Hi, I'm Nataly. I'm struggling. But also I had no awareness of how I felt or energy levels. And the final thing I want to say, because I've heard so many people resonate with this, I couldn't imagine there was another way. So like, it didn't make any sense to me to even think about making any changes because I thought that meant, okay, then I have to quit my job and quit my life and go to Tibet and meditate my whole life. And I'm not going to do that. Like I literally saw it as those drastic choices. Like I either go and like take care of my well-being or I have this full successful life. And so I told myself that story, which gave me no opening to make any small changes because I didn't think that was So those are some of the signs. And, you know, that last part that I just said about this, can't imagine that there's another way. I think that's actually really huge because before we can take a step, we have to imagine that we can take a step.
Yeah.
And I can imagine a step that I could take.
Yeah. You talk a lot in the book about self-criticism and the cycle of self-criticism and negative self-talk. Can you speak a little bit more about that and how the stories we tell ourselves? You say in the book, the story you tell yourself about your day impacts how you feel at your story. So can you talk a little bit about the negative self-talk and these stories we tell ourselves?
Yeah. You know, it's interesting. We all have this voice, right? We all have this voice in our heads that is narrating our life. And it's narrating it all the time. It's narrating it right now. And it creates these stories. And it tells stories about ourselves, about our life, right? And I heard a really great quote actually recently. I wish I could remember who said it. I'm so bad with proper names. It was a psychologist, but he said, it's not that our childhoods impact how we develop. It's that our imagination of our childhoods impacts how we develop. And that was really powerful because the thing to realize is the thoughts your brain gives you, it's not like they're accurate descriptions of some objective reality. No, they are stories. The brain has all these lenses. It has a lens of a negativity bias. So our brain naturally is much more focused on anything that's negative in our world and in ourselves. Our brain has a lens of patterns. So our brain loves patterns because it saves its energy. So, you know, the way I was 10 years ago, well, it's just how I am, right? So the brain loves pattern. Our brain has a lens of a confirmation bias, right? Once you believe something, your brain just wants to find things to believe it. So, you know, like an expression for that is like, we don't see things as they are. We see things as we believe they are. So I say all this because a really powerful moment for me and everyone I share this with is to just recognize that these stories, these thoughts your brain is giving you, they are not the truth. They are not objective reality. They're just stories that are influenced by all these other things. And if there's a story that your brain is telling you that is causing you to struggle, that is causing you to feel not good enough, that is causing you to feel like you can't, or that is creating some other mental block, you get to edit that story. You actually get to choose the mental lens. And I think that's both really empowering and really scary because it's kind of easy to just play victim to the brain and be like, well, it's what I think. It's what, you know. It takes courage to crack these stories. It takes courage to shift. It takes courage, but you can. And it's takes practice. And so when it comes to these stories of I'm not good enough, I'm too fat, I'm too thin, I haven't gotten far enough in my career, I'm disorganized, I never can do this, I'm bad at public speaking, blah, 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 all these stories, we get to edit that story.
Yes.
And, but again, the first place is to become aware of that story and to recognize that it's not describing some objective truth. It's just a story, and it's colored by a lot of things, your child, all this stuff. You can shift. No matter where you are, no matter what's going on, you can edit that story. And there's a chapter in my book on courage, and this is where I talk about it because it takes courage.
Yeah.
I had to edit my story that everything in life was always going to be a struggle. I had to edit my story that I am a superwoman and I don't need things like rest or sleep, and I can do 1,000 things in a day. And it made my ego so happy. I was like, oh yeah, haven't slept in 2 days. Yeah. I had to edit my story that I was doing, that it was me against the world.
Yes.
And that I was doing everything on my own. That was a bunch of bull crap as well. Excuse my French. It made my ego really happy, but I had to acknowledge, actually, first of all, I can't do things alone. I need help. And also, I have a lot of help and a lot of support. Not all stories we tell ourselves, by the way, are bad. I love the story that I'm super creative. You're looking at some of my art behind me, by the way. It's my painting on the back of my book, which is kind of like an amazing surreal moment for me. I love the story that I create really special experiences out of everyday things. I love the story that I'm a bundle of energy. Like, there's great stories that we all have, but if a story is getting in your way of living to the fullest, if your story is getting in your way of bringing out the fullest expression of who you are, you need to edit that story.
Yeah. Well, you mentioned that it takes practice, right? That this all takes practice.
Yes.
Are there daily practices? Because I love a daily practice. A lot of us do, right? Is there a daily practice that you can recommend that would help us with this negative self-talk?
I have one, and what fun timing. So I know this is going to air after what I mentioned, but this is a daily practice for everyone to do. So a little bit of background. We did a launch event for my book last week. We called it Awesome Human Day. It was a virtual launch event. It was amazing. We had 1,500 people from all over the world participate. And at the end, I asked everyone to start this daily practice. And we actually had people share stuff, and I made an art installation from it. And the practice is to take a moment every day and finish this sentence. Today, I'm an awesome human because. And we had hundreds. And the reason I'm saying this now is actually today, February 15th. I sent an email to our community saying, let's do this as a little 7-day challenge. Like, can you every day for the next 7 days, every day, complete this sentence? Today,
Love it.
I'm an awesome human because. And remember, awesome human. So you're both awesome and you're human.
Right.
Awesome means you have great capacity to do great stuff. Human means you mess up and you need things like rest and all this stuff. Awesome human. You're not awesome. You're awesome human. And it was incredible. We had like hundreds of people share in chat. And then what I did for the art exhibit is we actually, my daughter Mia wrote some of them down on sticky notes. I painted and we put them all around. But this is my daily practice that I want you to pick up because, again, remember, your brain has a negativity bias. Your brain is always going to, when left on its own, focus on, I'm not good enough at this. This is not good about me. This is not. So when you say, okay, but let me focus on something that I appreciate about myself, it could be something really small. Do you know what mine was yesterday? No, on Friday, mine was picked up my daughter and took her for bubble tea after school. I really love that I did that. And I'm in a bit of a book launch, right? I think this morning I wrote mine and it was, that I took an hour to go slow this morning to honor my tired self. That's it. And I just invite you to do this. You can do this if you go to my Instagram at Nataly Kogan. I'm sharing templates. They're also on my website. But you can do this. You don't need a template. You can do it on a Post-it note. You can do it. Maybe you do it as you look at yourself in the mirror for the first time today.
Mm.
But just that practice to get to create those patterns in your brain, to also look at what you appreciate about yourself.
Yes.
And that begins that process of editing your story.
Well, I love that this is what you help teach people, Nataly, because I think that many of us do not have nearly enough understanding of how the brain works. One of the things I love about what you have helped me understand, and we've talked about before, is because you have so much interest in how the brain works, and there's still, I think you told me the last time we talked that there's still so much we don't know about how the brain works, but it's so important. But the fact that we can train our brains, the fact that we can change our brains, that is like mind blowing, right? That
it's
concept.
Amazing, right? Like, I love the joy in your face and the excitement in your voice, because it's kind of amazing if you think about it.
Yes.
Like, it's amazing. We have this amazing thing, and it can be, and I want to share a quote, which actually no one has been able to figure out the source for this. I think it's in my first book, Happier Now, but I came across it when I was just like finding my way out of my darkness. And the quote is, "Your brain is a terrible master, but a great servant." Your brain is a terrible master, but a great servant. And it's so brilliant, because if you just think about it, right? Like, if we just follow the brain where it goes, it's actually a really good exercise that I offer. Like, take a half hour later today and just start even 5 minutes, forget half an hour. Just become of all the different thoughts in your head. Oh my God. Like, one thing, you're all of you listening to us right now, half of you are thinking about your to-do list. Half of your brains is like, oh my God, I forgot this, right? Like, you're listening to this conversation, your brain's thinking about your to-do list. 1 minute it's happy, 1 minute it's upset. There's this writer, Michael Singer, whose work has been really influential in mine. And he said, when I started to pay attention to the chatter in my mind, it was like a crazy roommate, completely crazy. He's like, and I realized I would never live with someone like that. I would kick him out, right? So the brain is a really terrible master, because again, your brain doesn't care about anything other keeping you safe.
Yes.
But it's a great servant if you guide it. When you choose to take control, and you choose the mental lens, and you choose which thoughts to go ahead with, and you edit your thoughts, your brain's like, yeah, sure, I'm in. It is actually very trainable. Yes. And I don't just mean long-term. The way you begin your day dramatically impacts the rest of the day. Your brain has a lot of inertia. So if you begin your day with this, today I'm an awesome human because practice, your brain is going to start thinking about, oh, Nataly, you're really good at this. You're really good at this. Let's do this. This is going to help you get better at this. Versus if you begin your day, you look in your mirror and go, oh my God, those wrinkles, oh my God, the thing around my waist. Your brain's like, oh yeah, let's spend the day. Let's think of all the things that are wrong with you. So your brain is asking you to give a direction.
Yeah. I love it. Well, okay. So I have to, just before we move on from that, I just have to say one of the reasons that I love this concept so much, this idea that we can change how we think, we can change our brains, is because what it tells me is that people don't have to live with pain, within the pain of it, right? In this cycle of pain.
Yes, we don't. We really don't.
It's a gift.
It's a gift. We can choose not to do it. And I don't know, like, I realize I'm in everyone's like little screen or in their ear. Like, I don't know how, if you can hear like the truth with a capital T in my voice. You're hearing this from someone who spent most of her life until my early 40s in a lot of struggle, constantly criticizing myself, constantly putting myself down. And I am here to tell you that you can change, but I don't want to sugarcoat it, because there's a lot of resistance. You know how many times I offer this in a talk or a keynote or a workshop or one of my live shows, and how many people say, well, it's easy for you, but I can't do it because my parents talk to me this way, or this is how I grew up. And I understand all that, but guess what? We are not just products of our past. We
Yeah.
have agency, and agency
Yes.
means you get to make choices
Yes.
to improve your own future. We all have agency. So
Mm.
don't blame your parents. Don't
Yeah.
blame your past. We all have stuff in the past.
Yeah.
You can choose today.
Mm-hmm.
Today, you're an awesome human because today you can choose a thought that's more productive. Today, you can choose to talk to yourself in a more kind, supportive way. You still have the choice. And that's why this is in the book in a chapter on courage. And people ask me, okay, what if I don't have the courage? That I have an answer for. Nobody has courage. It's not a thing you have or you don't. It's not like the smug. Oh, look, I have the smug. No, you develop courage by doing things that require it. That's it.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm not going to go on this, but I just wrote an article about this actually. I think it's on CNBC, I think, about my least favorite piece of advice ever in the history of all advice in the world is to be fearless, because we can't. Fear is a natural human emotion.
Yes.
The brain experiences it when it's facing something new, uncertain, difficult, because remember, your brain just wants you to be safe. So
Yes.
completely natural. So telling people to be fearless is like telling a really funny joke and then making sure no one smiles. You can't. You hear something funny, you laugh. You're doing something new, you get scared. It's normal. So I hate this, like, be fearless. And so the way you move through, like, oh my God, I don't know how to change my story. I can't. Start. Take one tiny first step. The courage comes in the doing. So start.
It's a muscle. It's like all the right.
It's a muscle. Exactly. And so start this practice. Start that today I'm an awesome human because start it. Just do it once.
Yeah.
Does doing it one time, is that going to change everything? No.
Yeah.
No, it's not. But is it going to give you that one little step? Because the other awesome thing to know about your brain loves a sense of progress. Loves. It's like a little child, it's like, let's put one Lego and then another. And your kid goes, ooh, like I remember Mia, my daughter, remember those big Melissa and Doug puzzles, like the wooden? It's really cool actually, because Melissa from Melissa and Doug endorsed my book. She actually read the whole thing. Yeah, her endorsement is the first one on the top.
Oh, well, that's awesome.
Which is just really fun. So I remember when Mia would do like the puzzles, like literally they have like 5 pieces, and she was like tiny. But like the first one was really hard because you got to figure out which one it goes in. But like I remember on her face, she'd get the first one in and she'd like grab the second one and she's already more encouraged. Why? Because the brain just went, okay, we can do this. Let's do it. Your brain loves a sense of progress. So any little progress step you can take is huge because it tells your brain, I'm good at this. I know how to do this. It's safe to try this. Let's do it again. So there is I hate those articles like, do these 5 things and you'll be happy for the rest of your life. Like, there is no such thing. But do this one thing and it's going to be easier to do the next thing. It's going to be a little easier. Your brain's going to think of another thing, because remember, it's a great servant. So just start with that one little step and then take another. And that sense of progress is huge.
Yeah. Genius. I love it. All right. Well, Nataly, we are going to be doing, because there's so much value in all of the stuff that you teach us and the book has to offer. We're going to be doing a giveaway for the audience, for those who listen to this. So there will be information in the show notes about how to enter the giveaway to get your own copy of the Awesome Human Project.
And I'll sign it.
That would be awesome. Where can people continue to follow all of your great advice? Because as you said, you talked about your Instagram before, you have so many tools that people can kind of just plug into that are free tools.
That are free tools, because to me, this is more than a book. It's a movement. Like, I'm inviting everyone. The Awesome Human Project is a movement to celebrate our awesomeness and humanity and uniqueness. Like, enough with all that other stuff. NatalyKogan.com is the place to go. All the things are on it, including, I mentioned that today I'm an awesome human because we actually have a whole page on there with like templates you can download. And I'm going to be adding some of what everyone's sharing on there for inspiration. So you can go download the template. So my book is full of illustrations, which I did myself, which is really scary, but they came out well, and notes to self. So on my website, I actually have a ton of those that you can download. A lot of people are saving them as screensavers. So NatalyKogan.com is a place to go, and I'm Nataly Kogan on Instagram, which is probably, yeah, it is. Well, actually, I have to say, I'm really into LinkedIn these days.
Yeah.
So Instagram and LinkedIn is where I kind of post a lot, share a lot. So please connect there. And yeah, nothing would mean more to me than to know that you're all practicing today. I'm an awesome human because. So I love when you share that on social media and tag me. That would be a big gift.
All right. Nataly, thank you.
Thank
Good luck
you as
with
always.
this.
Such a joy always. I'm so grateful always, Eliza, for your thoughtfulness and your, I don't know, like the most genuine enthusiasm for actually bringing these practices to your own life and others. So it's always such a joy. Thank you.